Hi, welcome to a new episode of the Musician's Lab. Today we are going to learn dominant 7 chords and possible extensions. Well, what's a dominant 7 chord? A dominant 7 chord is a chord built on the fifth degree of the tonality, which means if I take C, my dominant note will be G, and my dominant chord will be G dominant 7. A dominant 7 chord is structured with the root, the third, the fifth, and a fourth note, which is the major 7 flatted, which is called the dominant 7. The structure is made of several notes, leading notes to the root. That's the reason why dominant 7 chords have strong relationship or strong connection with the root. For example, if I take the G dominant 7, this dominant 7 chord is going to lead me to the root straight, which is the fifth, which means we are in C. So G dominant 7 leads us to C. What if I was playing A dominant 7? We say that dominant 7 chords are built on the fifth. So if I play A dominant 7, which definitely means I am in the key or in the tonality of D major. Dominant 7 chords are made of three, the triad, the normal triad, the basic triad, and 7 notes, which is the dominant 7. For example, G dominant 7 is made of the root, which is G, the third, which is B, and the fifth, which is D, and the dominant 7, which is F. So the third is the 7th note of the tonality and is the leading note to C, which is the root, and D, which is the fifth, is the leading note to either E or C, which is the same root, and the dominant 7, which is F, is a leading note to E. So these three different notes are nothing but the root, the notes that compose the root. That's the reason why we say dominant 7 have strong connection with the root. So if I play D dominant 7, since we know that dominant 7 chords are built on the fifth, it means I am in G. If I play E dominant 7, which means I am in A. I hope you now understand dominant 7. So let's move to the different kind of dominant 7 chords with the extension. So we have different kind of extension that we can use with dominant 7 chords. The first on our list will be the dominant 9. The dominant 9 is a dominant 7 chord with a 9th extension. Well, in C, if I play the C dominant 7, there's a C dominant 7. Now I am going to add the 9th extension, which is D. The C dominant 9 will be composed of a C dominant 7 and the 9th extension. So this is a C dominant 9. It's a dominant 7 with a 9th extension, but it's called C dominant 9. The second dominant 7 extension we are going to see is the dominant 11, which is basically a sus chord. Dominant 7, Okay, dominant 7, so plus 9 plus the sus, which is the 11, which is the repetition of the fourth at an upper octave. So we have dominant 11 chord, or it's a dominant 11 chord. Now, the next dominant chord on the list is a dominant 7 and an addition 13 note, which will be called a dominant 13. So this is a 13 chord. This is C13. C13 is made of a dominant 7 chord and a 13 note as addition. So this is C dominant 7 and this is a 13 note, giving it the structure of a C dominant 13 chord. Now let's see the different extension, the different alteration of these extensions. Remember, I told you earlier that dominant 7 chords lead to the root. If I play D dominant 7, then I'm going in G major. But with altered extension, things change a little bit. So let's study which kind of root, or what's the nature of the root to be played when extensions are altered. So if I take a C dominant 9, okay, C dominant 9, the extension can be flattened, so which will be dominant 9 flat, dominant 7 flat 9. So that will be dominant 7 flat 9. So the 9, which is D, will be flattened to D flat, which is C sharp. And in this case, when we get alteration in on the extension, the coming chord is likely to be a minor chord because of this alteration. Now, if I was playing a C dominant 9 without any alteration, the next chord will be the root, but major root. But if I played rather a flattened extension or a sharpened 9, which is sharp 9 or flat 9, my next chord will be minor. Now, in some cases, we do borrow these harmonies from either the major or the minor tonality, which means I can play a flattened 9 and still resolve in a major root. So major when I flat, sharp, minor, major. So moving to the next chord, which is the 11. We can play dominant 11 chords and flat, either flat or sharpen the 11. Well, let's try and play a dominant 7 chords with a flattened or a sharpened 11. For example, this is a dominant 9 chord. So a dominant 7 plus a 9th extension plus another extension, which is the sharp 11, which will give this. You see? So I have a dominant 7 chord right here, and the 9th extension, and then a dominant and a sharpened 11th. This is the 11, sharpened 11 will give me this. which is something we call an upper structure. We'll get there gradually. Going to the next extension, which is the 13th extension, I can decide to sharpen or to flatten the 13th. So this is a C dominant 7. Okay, and then do the 13th. So I can decide to play C dominant 7 flat 13. So that's going to give me something like that. So this is the 13, this is the flattened 13. See? And then resolve. You see? Or I can play this. So when there are alterations, the root is likely to be minor, basically. So if I play a dominant 7 with either a flattened or a sharpened alteration, that leads me to a minor chord, basically. But we can sometimes borrow these harmonies to a minor and then resolve in a major chord. Okay? Flat 13, minor. Flat 13, major. Alright? To summarize, you can have 3 different kinds of extension to your dominant 7 chords, which are 9 extension, 11 extension, and 13 extension. These extensions can be either sharpened or flattened. So when these alterations are flattened, the next chord, which is the root, because the dominant leads to the root. So when these alterations are sharpened, when these extensions are altered, rather flattened or sharpened, they lead to a minor root. But when they are not altered, they lead basically to the major root. But in some cases, we can borrow these chords from a minor harmony and then resolve into a major chord, or from a major harmony and then resolve into a minor chord. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done it yet, and leave a comment below on things you didn't understand in this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good day.